Imagine stepping out onto your balcony on a crisp evening, coffee in hand, ready to unwind under a blanket of stars only to notice there's not just one, but two moons staring back at you. Double the moons, double the romance, and perhaps double the werewolf transformations. Alright, let's maybe skip that last part. But seriously, what would it mean for Earth if we had two moons illuminating our nights? Specifically, how would our oceans react? Grab your surfboards and tsunami alarms, let's dive in. Double trouble in the sky, let's set the stage. Imagine looking up at the night sky, captivated by not one, but two glowing celestial orbs. Suddenly, your moonlit dinners become twice as romantic until you realize there's also twice the chance of getting some serious moon burn. Sure, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but the reality? A double moon Earth would be anything but peaceful. Interestingly, Earth might have already experienced this scenario about 4.5 billion years ago. Scientists believe that during Earth's chaotic wild youth, our planet might have had two moons orbiting together, like cosmic siblings stuck in a never-ending game of tag. But here's where things get messy because they eventually fought over their space, as siblings do, and ended up colliding in a dramatic celestial showdown. The impact? A debris-filled, slow-motion disaster that likely led to the formation of the single moon we see today. But let's imagine for a second that we still had two moons hanging around. At first glance, it sounds amazing, right? Double the lunar beauty, double the poetic inspiration, and double the werewolf legends. But in reality, the gravitational consequences would be far from poetic. Two moons would constantly pull on Earth's tides, potentially causing massive, unpredictable flooding in some areas while leaving others completely dry. The extra gravitational forces might even mess with Earth's rotation, throwing our seasons into chaos and making climate patterns even more extreme. Oh, and let's not forget moonquakes, because the gravitational tug-of-war between two moons could send seismic shocks rippling through the lunar surface. So while a two-moon Earth might sound like the ultimate sci-fi dream, in reality, it could turn our planet into a gravitational mess. One moon is already complicated enough, let's take this one lunar problem at a time. A smaller sibling moon scenario. Imagine our hypothetical second moon is about 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles, wide roughly 1/30th the mass of our current moon, and sitting at a similar distance from Earth. Essentially, it's the little brother moon orbiting alongside its much bigger sibling like a cosmic tag-along. At first glance, you might think, would this tiny moon even matter? Well, let's clear this up, size isn't everything, folks. Even a smaller moon would create additional tidal forces, subtly altering Earth's oceans. While it wouldn't be as powerful as our current lunar powerhouse, this little lunar companion would still have enough gravitational pull to nudge ocean waters, making tides slightly higher and more complex. Now, before you start picturing apocalyptic waves crashing into skyscrapers, let's set the record straight, this isn't a disaster movie. The extra lunar influence wouldn't be earth-shattering, but it would make tides a little more unpredictable. Surfers, they'd be stoked. More dynamic tides mean bigger, more consistent waves, creating the ultimate surfing paradise. Hang 10, anyone? Coastal cities, however, might have to adapt to slightly stronger tidal currents, which could impact beach erosion, marine life patterns, and even navigation routes. But let's not forget, having a mini-moon hanging around could also affect Earth's rotation, subtly influencing day length over time. And depending on how long this little lunar sibling sticks around, its orbit might eventually decay, leading to one of two dramatic endings: a spectacular collision with Earth, bad, or a slow escape into space, less bad. Either way, a second moon, even a small one, would definitely keep things interesting. The gentle surfing paradise. Realistically, the combined tidal effects of a two-moon system would create larger, more consistent waves, enough to delight surfers, but not enough to turn every coastal city into Atlantis 2.0. Think of it as nature deciding surfers have waited long enough for a global upgrade. Tidal energy would be stronger and more complex, producing epic, more reliable swells that would make every surfer's dream come true. Of course, beachfront property owners might grumble about minor shifts in coastal erosion, but hey, tourism would skyrocket. Surfing hotspots would see a boom in visitors, and Instagrammers would flood the internet with once-in-a-lifetime wave shots. Who knows? With two moons boosting ocean activity, wave chasing could become the next global obsession, right up there with chasing solar eclipses and complaining about Mercury retrograde. When moons go bump, now as with many seemingly harmonious celestial pairings, this two-moon setup wouldn't last forever. Over time, their delicate gravitational dance would become increasingly unstable, like two siblings in the backseat of a car, slowly pushing each other's buttons until one inevitably snaps. At some point, our moons would drift closer and closer, and then bam! A slow-motion, cosmic fender bender. No need to panic, though this wouldn't be a fiery, Earth-destroying catastrophe. Instead of an extinction-level meteor apocalypse, the smaller moon would likely gently splat onto the larger one, merging into a single, crater-ridden megamoon. The impact would probably kick up some space dust, maybe even alter the moon's surface appearance, but life on Earth? Totally fine. So while our brief era of double moons might end with a celestial collision, at least we get some epic tides and unforgettable moonlit skies in the meantime. Not a bad trade-off, right? Let's upsize that moon, shall we? But hold on, what if we crank the drama dial up to 11? Imagine a second moon that's just as big as our current moon, but instead of chilling at the usual 384,400 kilometer, 238,855 miles away, it orbits at half that distance. Suddenly, we're no longer in gentle surfing paradise territory. We're now in absolute gravitational chaos mode. A closer, equally massive moon would supercharge tidal forces, making them up to 8 times stronger than today's average tide. 8 times, yikes. That's no longer just bigger waves, that's coastal cities getting swallowed whole on a daily basis. Miami? Gone. Venice? Atlantis 2.0. Every low-lying region on Earth would struggle to stay above water, turning previously bustling streets into underwater highways. Forget surfboards, you'd need submarines for your morning commute. And it's not just the tides. A second massive moon at close range would mess with Earth's rotation, possibly slowing it down or throwing it off kilter. Our seasons? Completely out of whack. Weather patterns? Unpredictable disasters. And let's not even talk about moonquakes, because with two massive bodies pulling on each other, both moons could experience intense seismic activity, potentially breaking apart over time. So while a second smaller moon might give us great waves, a second giant moon? That's straight-up planetary mayhem. Fun to imagine, but unless you're a real estate investor in high-altitude mountain cities, you probably wouldn't want to live through it. Moon phase dance. With two moons in the sky, nighttime would never be the same. Instead of a lone, predictable lunar cycle, we'd witness a celestial duet, with dual lunar phases lighting up the night. Imagine a crescent moon hanging beside a full moon, or two glowing crescents mirroring each other across the sky. Instagram would explode with artsy, double moon photography, and you can bet poets and romantics would have a field day. Nighttime strolls? Pure magic. Of course, there's one group that might have a tougher time adjusting: werewolves. Assuming they exist, they'd have to rethink their whole full moon schedule. With two moons pulling their supernatural strings, would they transform twice as often? Would certain moon combinations cause partial transformations? Suddenly, the werewolf lifestyle gets way more complicated, and let's be real, it was already tough enough. Cosmic catastrophe. The sequel. Poetic two-moon era wouldn't last forever. The gravitational friction between our two lunar roommates would gradually pull them closer together, setting the stage for a cataclysmic final. Unlike the gentle bump from the earlier scenario, this collision wouldn't be a slow, graceful ballet, it would be a full-blown cosmic demolition derby. When these two massive celestial bodies finally smack into each other, it would send moon debris flying in every direction. And unlike a gentle meteor shower, this wouldn't just be a pretty light show, it could rival the impact event that wiped out the dinosaurs. Thousands of fiery fragments could come raining down on Earth, creating an apocalyptic-level meteor storm. Future fossil enthusiasts might enjoy digging through the wreckage, but for anyone who enjoys, well, living, it would be terrible news. The ultimate recycling program. Not all hope is lost, though space has its own way of cleaning up after itself. Any leftover debris that doesn't come crashing down on Earth in a meteor-filled doomsday scenario would likely clump together, forming yet another brand new moon. It's like the ultimate cosmic recycling program, where moons smash, break apart, and rebuild over time, a process that's been happening since Earth's wild teenage years, when the original moon likely formed from a colossal planetary impact. So while our dreamy two-moon sky might eventually end in chaos, the story wouldn't be over. Over millions of years, gravity would gather the scattered debris, shaping it into a new lunar companion. It might be smaller or maybe oddly shaped, but it would still grace the night sky, carrying the battle scars of its celestial ancestors. Thanks for joining this wild cosmic ride. If your mind is blown and your imagination sparked, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. Keep looking up and stay curious. See you in the next adventure.